I saw this video the other day, and so this girl, she's doing her thing. She's in a park or like a beach kind of. I think she's at like a beach. She's in a bikini and a two-piece. She's about to do a little video for, for the gram, doing her thing and that.
Okay.
And this woman, I want to call her Karen because it seemed like a Karen, came up to her and was like, "You see those two boys over there? Those are my sons. Can you cover up your ass because they keep watching you?" And I'm just like, okay, wait. Should she not be teaching her sons not to be looking at random women? Or is there such thing as too much skin? Is there an age where we can, especially as women, is there an age where certain things that we wear are no longer, acceptable? What do you think on this one, ladies?
I really hate stories like that. I really do, because I think when you do, I really do, because let that Karen try and at me. At
Luanda, Yasmin.
At Luanda, Yasmin. Come at me, Karen. I just think it's really saddening to see nudity attached to shame. And I think when you say something, when you go to a young girl and I'm like, can you cover yourself up because my sons are over there? For me, that goes into respectability politics. And respectability politics are these this is a group of regressive ideas that puts the onus on the oppressed party to change something about themselves, to change the way that they experience the world. And they don't make sense at all. So, for example, in terms of appearance, they might say something like, pull up your pants and you won't get shot, or cover up and you won't get harassed. And this type of thinking, it never ever keeps anyone safe, and it never ever helps anyone to progress either. So it's really frustrating to me to hear another woman do that to a younger woman. It's ridiculous, and it's completely sexist, because if you think about, you said the woman was in a bikini, right, Linda? Mm-hmm. If we think about swimwear, boys wear trunks, and then elderly men wear trunks, whereas younger women wear bikinis, and then elderly women wear swimsuits. And so what that's telling us is there are rules and regulations for the way that we should be presenting to our bodies to the world, but only if you have a vagina. If you're a man, you can get your wrinkly nipples out, jump in the pool, that's fine. If you're a woman, you need to be thinking about this, that, and that. And it's always from the idea of, like you said, the patriarchy. It's like the male gaze. It's like what we are telling women they can and can't do from the idea that we have of what a straight man wants. And I don't... Go ahead, Sophie.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's definitely ageism, because the Daily Mail came out with a survey saying that 2,000 people that they polled said that 2/3 of them believe that you should stop wearing crop tops at 34 and a bikini at 40. And like you said, I think, are we talking about trunks? It's completely related to...
But Sophie, you're saying ageism, but you're talking about female clothing.
Well, yes, I'm saying it's ageism only related to women. Because for me, my thing is just saying that it's talking about when is the age when a woman is allowed to be less desirable, or less desirable in our eyes. So at 40, we're kind of that's no longer anything we want to be seeing on a woman. You're getting old, you need to cover up, you need to be modest. But like you were saying, with men, we don't have that thing. So I'm thinking it's definitely, for me, it's part ageism, but I think also, like you're saying, it brings in a certain sense of misogyny and sexism.
I think
go on. No, go ahead.
For me, I've had a couple of experiences of this, ladies, and I think it's less ageism. I think it is sexism, misogyny, whatever you want to put it, because as women, so I've had this happen to me twice. I don't want to go into it too much. Let me just go into it. So basically, right? Let me not lie. So it happened to me twice. One was a male member of my family, and the second was a female. So the first one, I was on Facebook, and I think I must have been around 18, 19, 20. And I had this woman who claimed to be an aunt message me and be like, "Oh, Linda, that skirt is a bit short." I said, "Look, if you knew me, you would know that every outfit that I wear, I show my mum first and foremost. She will tell me I look nice, and then I go upon my business. So I do not need you or any Tom, Dick or Harry telling me what is appropriate for me to wear." That was the young Linda, right? And then literally I had the same situation happen to me earlier this year. I kid you not. Last month, 6 weeks ago maximum, I had one of my uncles, who I would say was my favourite uncle, ask me to change my DP because I haven't got a DP on anymore. But it was like I was wearing red long trousers and I wore like a heart-shaped, what kind of top you call it? Like a heart-shaped
shoe kind of thing. Like I know what you're talking about. I forget the name.
Yeah,
like a bodycon kind of.
Yeah, almost like a bodycon, sleeveless, heart-shaped top. So all you could see was just bits of my arm. Basically, tops like this that I'm wearing today. I know anyone listening, you can't see the top. So go over to YouTube and go and look at this episode so you can see what I'm talking about. And he was like, I said, Uncle, what's wrong with it? He was like, anyone who saw it wouldn't know that you are educated and you are, holding down your career and the jobs you have. And then he even said, and I was like, but Uncle, you can't judge a book by its cover. And if anyone would look at me and think that, then that's more for them. And he was like, oh, but I was like, I'm going back and forwards. He was like, oh, but it reminds me of things that people wear to dance. And I was like, so hold on, the fact that my legs are completely closed. Yeah, my legs are completely covered. And once again, for me, what really gets to me is the fact that it's women changing themselves for men. And it's not to be rude, that Karen and Uncle, I've got love for you, but what needs to happen is that men need to be taught not to objectify women. All of this ties into their view of power. When we talk about things like assault that we've talked about before, it's because men are not taught, look, this is a female, yes, they may be beautiful, but look, don't touch, look, do not judge. Do you know what? Just don't look, period. That's why we're being told, oh, if you dress a certain way, it's not respectable. Respectable for who? These men need to stop looking.
Linda, I just want to jump in there because I agree with what you're saying, but I don't want to generalize all men because I think it's a cultural thing. I think in Western society, the woman's body has been hypersexualized. So even if we show a little bit of skin, it's provocative, it's raunchy, things like that. But if we flip it on its head, when you're looking at something like more indigenous tribes, everyone's walking around naked and no one is offended by the female body. No one's offended by the male body. No one is looking at it with a complete sexual gaze and it's this massive thing that needs to be deviated. But somehow in the Western world, we have now got to this, we've turned like a complete 180 and been like, oh, actually, like if a woman if her skirt is too short or if her top is too low, it's this, it's that. And men should be taught, but it's this whole thing in this Western world where our bodies are so hypersexualized that we can't do we cannot do anything without being accused of being too overtly sexy or being called out of our name or our question or our characters being called out. It's just like, I can't tell you how over it I actually am. And I would say, yes, I am on the committee of the Skin Out crew. I think everybody does. I like a little bit of skin, honey. I always like a bit of skin. That's just what I like. And not just on women, I love skin on men. So when I see my male friends and they're in a shirt, sometimes like, no, let's button it real low. You got to show them chest. Make them short, you got to show them thigh. I'm like, it's all about the skin, honey. It looks good. And I think it's because my family have been like that. And I don't know, obviously, because, my family are from Jamaica and everything like that. It's a hot country. So people just wear less clothes. So we're just used to having our skin out. And so I'm not offended when I know some people are offended, but when I go to a beach and sometimes there's topless women, I'm not offended by that because I'm not offended by breast. I don't know how to make that make sense. And if I see a man who's even in a Speedo and things aren't completely all together in it, I'm not completely offended because when did the body become so offensive? That is it for me. I can't.
Okay, I've got a question though, lady. Oh, go on, Sophie.
No,
you know what? Our minds are in sync today, Sophie. I
definitely it's because it's an over sexualization. I think it's so important what you said about understanding that it's also very much cultural. Because I've been to other places where people have breasts out and men can conduct themselves fine and they're not put off.
Exactly.
They're just like it's a breast. Even with this woman who complained at the other woman, I'm just like, your sons have a bottom, so you getting upset because they see a bottom when everyone has one. I'm just like, you're sexualizing it. You're making it more sexual than it is. And when we sexualize women and then we start putting age limits on when that sexiness kind of stops, it's just completely flawed. But go ahead, Linda.
It's too much.
So I've got a little question for you ladies, right? Because I feel like personally, I have been guilty of this. What are your thoughts on Amber Rose and her whole slut walk movement and the whole, not judging a book by its cover. I don't know if you saw that whole thing. She does a slut walk yearly. I think she has done it for 2 years now though. And it's basically her just not glamorizing, but her saying openly she's a hoe and what. What are your thoughts on that?
You already know me, I'm 110% here for the slut walk. If I was in like a close proximity to one, I would take myself there. Because I think people need to absolutely understand what her point is. And this is why we're having these conversations, because I agree with everything that you have all just said about it's our culture and the way that we look at nudity. Like, nudity should not be attached to shame. It should not be attached to low morals. And it certainly should not be attached to consent either. And everyone always thinks, oh, maybe that's a wild jump, but it's not, because if you add shame to something, then you're adding sin to it as well. So that's why, you know, a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about that girl who had her thong held up in the courtroom as a sign of consent, we were all horrified. But also those ideologies are going to also come from, you know, little old Karen over here telling my girl to cover her butt. And you know what I mean? So it all connects. And I think another thing that's within this too much skin conversation, I think slim privilege is within this as well, because we've all seen there are certain clothes that slim women are allowed to wear. Like, you can wear a bralette to go out to eat and you can be cute and classy. You can go to a club and whatever. Have a bigger girl wear a bralette and she's going to be wholly inappropriate. She's going to be called all types of names. Like, so many bad things are going to happen to her. So there's even like you were saying about there's regulations when it comes to age. There's also regulations when it comes to measurements.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I think some of it's, like you say, it's fat phobia, basically. Yeah. It's people being uncomfortable with it. Someone can be a size 6 and wear a bikini and it's fine. Or you could be a size 14 and it's just kind of like, because there's more of you and you're maybe more curvy than that person who's a size 6, and suddenly it's like, it's over-sexualized. I think that's an issue. And I think when you're talking about the Amber Rose slut walk, honestly, part of it makes me a bit uncomfortable. Like, I fully agree with what she's saying and the path that she's on, but I think for me it's really on the other extreme. So we have the world who's trying to tell us, like, you know, you should dress up or cover up or this or that when you're at a certain age or whatever, and she's just trying to really push the boundary. And I think it's an important place to go, and I think it makes me uncomfortable, because as much as I might interact and I can notice something as fat phobic or sexist or ageist, I still live in the world. Like, I have had all these thoughts given to me as well. So I think what she's doing is really, really important. And I think there's space for all of it. Like, there's space for all of it.
But you could be there, so like you could turn up, like you don't have to be naked to go. The point is trying to.
I wouldn't have a problem going to it at all. Like, because for me, I'm like, the female form should be celebrated. I'm just saying, because she's just like, guys, this is another conversation, but she will talk about whatever you wear, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be, you shouldn't be abused or assaulted or whatever. And I agree with that, but we can't get away from the fact that whatever you wear, people make a judgment based on it, and some people act to you in a certain way because they make an assumption in their mind. Now, the assumption isn't right, but whatever we wear does communicate something to somebody else. And it's kind of like, do I then say I'm free to wear whatever we are, which we are, even though someone might take advantage of that and then put me in a certain position? And I think it's a really difficult, until the mindset changes, we can do what everyone, and I think the mindset, there is a shift, but I think it's such a complicated issue.
I agree.
Yes, that's it. I'll agree. I'm with you on that, because I kind of sit on the fence with the slut walk. I'm here for Amber and everything like that, but I want it to include everything. So, like, if a woman wants to be called a whore, or doesn't mind referring to herself as a hoe or a whore, she can. And if she doesn't, she can. And if she wants to wear nothing, but she wants to wear everything, she can. So I don't know much about the slut walk, but I hope the slut walk just leaves it open for every woman to have every choice, and that's what it's about. But I personally refer to myself as a whore, but not as a whore but not to be like, oh, well, whatever. But when me and my friends or my sisters talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such a whore. You're such a whore. Like, it's just like another term for like girl. It's like, oh, you're a whore. So yeah, I don't know if I can speak on it.
I think it's really that there shouldn't be any slut shaming. That like if you like I understand what you're saying, Sophie. Like in an ideal world, the way that we dress wouldn't affect our perspective, but we live in the world where it does. So she's trying to like make a point of, if I come with my tits out, that doesn't mean I'm asking for it, or there shouldn't be a walk of shame. There should be a walk of no shame. Because why is sex sinful and why is nudity sinful and all of that stuff? So it is a conversation.